Let's just agree that this is it. Portland, Maine, I don't know where that is. Leave your bags in the car, keep it running. I won't pretend that I want these things. But Portland, Maine, I don't know where that is. And I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know.
You're probably listening to this in the morning. I hope you're drinking coffee. My name is Rick Alexander. This is my show, Morning Coffee, on the Lionheart Radio channel. You know, we do long-form interviews. We used to do one every week, and then I don't know, I backed off it a little bit as I've really been working on my new book and working on the morning coffee. But just know, if you guys are into the long form stuff, we'll continue to roll it out. It'll be labeled not as morning coffee, and it'll be longer, and it will have a guest. So that's kind of the deal. But most of the days a week, it's morning coffee, 10 minutes or less. We'll talk about a concept typically centered around personal development, and then ask you questions so you can explore that same topic within your own life. And so today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about a little bit of a self-awareness conundrum. So here's the idea. What humans have the ability to do, of course, is to look back at themselves, right? That's what self-awareness is. That's what makes us sentient. That's what separates us from all of the other animals in the animal kingdom. Dogs don't have this ability to perform metacognition, essentially. They don't have the ability to look at their own thoughts and then to assess them and then to judge themselves. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about why it can be a little bit of a curse and why you have to be careful. One of the things I've talked about before is that the human being goes in and out as much as the universe goes up and out. Now, I can't back up that claim, but I can also tell you that in terms of the universe and in terms of you, we've never gotten to the end. There's so much, everyone's sort of in this idea right now, it's like everyone's sort of working on artificial intelligence. But if you talk to a lot of neuroscientists and brain researchers, what they're coming to the conclusion of is we don't even know ourselves yet. Our brains have the capacity to do things that we have no idea about. And we're just sort of learning the functionality of all those things. Up until the last few decades, we didn't even use breathing to change our state, our physiological state. But now that's something that we know we can do, and we don't know where the limits of that lies. And this is really exciting for me because I'm team human and I'm always interested in the way that our cognition works and how we can sort of leverage what we know about ourselves in order to improve the quality of our lives. Now, when that sort of fails is when you get stuck in these cycles of metacognition. When you start to be really overwhelmed by something, then you start to analyze it. And when people say overthinking, that can be what they're talking about. You start to try to grasp something. Now, if you're somewhat intellectual or cerebral, then you probably always want to understand something before you can move forward. But one thing that you have to understand is that you almost will never think your way out of a situation. Now, you can think of a solution, but if you end up getting caught in these ideas of trying to grasp some certain concept, you can get stuck in cycles of thought forever. And I'm sure that everybody listening to this has experienced it. One of the reasons that I believe in journaling so much is because it gives your thoughts an off-ramp. If you could just think about things and that would be enough, then that's what you would do. And the Clarity Academy and stuff, we always focus on journaling because we need to look at our thoughts objectively and assess them. And when they're stuck in your head, they become you. You become your thoughts, and you have a really hard time of separating it. Now, if you meditate, that helps you to assess your thoughts better. It gives you a little space between a thought and a reaction. But when things are just bouncing around in your head, sometimes, again, if you're more cerebral, you probably have this idea that you can think your way out of it. And at the end of the day, that's just not true, because oftentimes the right answer, and this is where we make our money, is felt just as much as it's understood. So sometimes you want to be able to conceptualize something before you move forward with it. But a lot of times when you're stuck in a this or that scenario, you're trying to think of something, you actually just need to sort of avoid that metacognition, and you need to feel the right answer. A lot of times you will feel what's right before you actually know what's right. You sort of like just have this weird deep down gut feeling, intuition, and truthfully, what intuition is your subconscious, which is perceiving 11,000 inputs per second. And so you don't have the, let's say, cognitive bandwidth to perceive all of those inputs and to tell yourself to breathe. And that's why we have the autonomic nervous system. That's why we have the subconscious. And that's why we have the conscious mind. And then so our subconscious is sort of taking in all of these inputs all the time. And then we've got executive function in the prefrontal cortex helping us make decisions. Now, the reason I'm talking about this so much today is because I see people that are trying to become more self-aware, and they're sort of in these like this idea of like trying to get more into self-exploration, which of course I believe in. It's a whole module in the Clarity Academy. But I also just want to say, like, sometimes the right answer, it's felt just as much as it's known. Like, we feel what to do sometimes on a very cellular level, and we have trouble even expressing why or articulating why that is. Well, oftentimes it's because, yeah, you're feeling the right answer because there's memory, there's emotion, there's all of these things that are stored in the body. And if you're interested in that, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score, which I would recommend because it really does show you how soft tissue does kind of store memory in a way that it's really hard for us to conceptualize when you just think about it. And so I would say right now, like what parts of your life are you sort of stuck in these thought cycles and these cognitive loops, and you keep mulling over the information over and over and over, and you're not getting anywhere new? You need space from that situation. One way to provide an off-ramp for your thoughts is to journal so that you can objectively assess the things that you've written. Another way is to try to induce a flow state through movement. So surfing, running, snowboarding, biking, whatever your thing is that you know will induce a flow state. Go toward that because it will give you space from that metacognition. You won't be thinking about your thoughts anymore, and you actually might feel the right answer come through. And if you feel it, almost never do people say like, I went with my gut and I was wrong. Literally never, actually. I don't know if I've ever heard that. Maybe it's happened in these really freak things. Don't email me about it. I don't really care. For the most part, though, it's something that all humans have the ability to do. And it's because things are happening. There's processes happening within our physiology that we have no idea about, that we don't understand at all. So what I want to tell you today is like, I would say don't overthink it, but don't feel like you can always think through the solution. Metacognition isn't always the answer. And a lot of times self-awareness and the ability to look at your thoughts and actions can be a little bit of a curse because you're going to assess your actions, and your actions might be acting on impulses that you also don't understand. And so then you beat yourself up, and then you get caught in a loop of metacognition. If you find yourself mired in thought, either give those thoughts an off-ramp or go do something else and then try to feel the right answer. When you feel it, you know it. So hope this one helped. Hope it gives you some relief if you are stuck in thought. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later on Morning Coffee.